My name is Tammy Tragus McCook. I am your instructor. Today, I present to you Geoff Welch. He's co-owner of Dateline Digital Printing, keynote speaker, talks a lot about leadership. He's a blogger, more importantly, and that's what we're going to talk about today. And we get a sneak peek into his blog, Powered by Humanity. Geoff, tell me about yourself and about Powered by Humanity.
Yeah, so I co-own Dateline Digital Printing, just down the hill from the university here, and have been an owner there for 10 years now. And Powered by Humanity is something that we're just about to launch, that is kind of an evolution of some of the other writing that I've done. That really, it's a blog that focuses on leadership, service, and being a human at work. And the ideas for the blog really came out of an ebook I wrote called Powered by Humanity, where I kind of took stock of my first 10 years in business and some of the unusual ideas I have about how business should work and how people should be able to be people at work.
All right. And let's timestamp this. This is early August 2015, because by the time students get through the semester, your blog will be fully launched.
We're going to be launching on September 1. So.
All right. Encourage you to go there. So what inspired you? You are a blogger previously for yourself, and now you have decided to do that with the business. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I guess I have the luxury of owning a business and having a lot of overlap in my life. There is not hard edges between personal life and business life. There's just kind of life and all the things intermingle. That's not everyone's situation. Some people have more discrete work and life situations, but I get to overlap those things. And so the writing that I've done personally has sort of led to some of the writing that I'm doing for the business now, because they're all the same kind of ideas. The things that I care about as a person are the things I care about as a business owner. And so it just became evident that it was time to really put those two things together in a more formal way. And so, yeah, the blog will be hosted at datelinedigital.com, and it will just really encapsulate the ideas that we hold dear as a company about service and leadership and being a human at work. And so the evolution of it, though, is that I started writing for myself a handful of years ago at the encouragement of some pretty remarkable people who I would say really changed my life and encouraged me that I had something of value to share. And so I started writing a blog called This Tiny Empire, which still exists. And that led me to write the ebook called Powered by Humanity, which then was really the bridge for me that said, you know what, all these ideas are connected. Why don't we just make this a Dateline product and be able to share that? Because that's really what I'm writing about.
And your coworkers and Travis is all your co-owner was open to this idea as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So. And
I might be jumping ahead here, but will you be the only blogger, or do you see in the future other people adding content?
Definitely other voices. It's funny. There's this balancing act between giving people the opening the door and saying, "Hey, you're welcome to share your ideas," and then making it this intimidating thing where it's like, "Well, I'm not a writer. I don't want to." So I think that there may be some avenues where there may be some interview style stuff where they're able to insert their perspectives without having to be the writer. Okay. But yeah, so initially it'll be mostly me as we kind of get things online. But yeah, no, I have some plans for not only including other internal voices, but also voices in the community. We've got a lot of really cool, really sharp people in Fairbanks that I think this will be a great platform to talk about leadership and service in the broader context as well.
Right. And you mentioned you had professional help, so you're an experienced blogger, so that's why you're able to make this transition. I don't want to say quite easily, but it will be not as big of a jump for someone who's just starting. So tell me about your starting when you did start this tiny empire.
Sure. That was really a lot of trial and error. I think that I'm a fairly tech-savvy guy. I say that as a 39-year-old, which means that everyone who's under the age of 20 is laughing at me right now, thinking that I'm tech-savvy. But I've been involved with computers and the internet forever, except for the internet hasn't existed forever, so that's somewhat inaccurate. But and so there was a lot of the process of setting it up that was very natural in terms of I understood the basics of how things worked, and I used the Google to fill in the gaps. All the stuff that I needed help with. Generally speaking, they were answers that were available online. There are certainly people along the way that helped as well in terms of, hey, I know that you've done this before. What is your advice on either setting up, what platform should I use, what host should I use, those kind of things. That kind of input is always helpful. But I sort of cobbled it together and learned along the way. I never really engaged a professional design firm or anything like that to set it all up and create it.
And your host is?
I'm hosted at GoDaddy, yeah.
Okay. And then WordPress, is that the tool that you use?
Yeah, I use WordPress as the front end.
All right, so somebody's thinking about blogging for themselves or for their company.
Sure.
How much time can they expect? How much time do you spend on blogging?
And I think it's a really variable kind of thing. There are some bloggers that are blogging 3 or 4 times a week. That's clearly a much bigger commitment than someone like me who plans to blog once a week. I would say on average I spend about an hour a week. That is likely to increase with Powered by Humanity because most of the writing I'm doing is fairly short form right now, and it'll be a little bit longer on this. And so I say dedicated time, it's likely about an hour a week. When I'm driving in my car, I'm thinking about ideas and sort of grabbing inspiration from different places. So if you add all that in, that's a different number. But I sort of feel like I'm always blogging to some degree because I'm always looking at the world and kind of pulling out pieces that I'd say I'd like to talk about that.
Well, I'm curious about this. You sit down and like, oh, it's time to blog this week.
Yeah.
Do you come up with a fresh idea, or do you have buckets of ideas that you keep on your computer, on your phone?
Yeah, I've got a list. So for Powered by Humanity, I have 100 prompts right now that are ready. If I needed to go write something tomorrow, I could pick from that list. I like to do that a lot so that I'm not worried that I'm going to run out of ideas next week. I like to have kind of a stash. But I do find that very often I'll intersect with inspiration during the week, and I have to kind of make a choice about, well, am I going to go with something that I've already thought about, or do I want to really, because this is fresh and exciting and topical, contemporary, do I want to just address this week? And so I make a lot of those choices ad hoc. It's likely that Powered by Humanity will have more of a schedule than I've used in the past. I've been very kind of shoot from the hip in the past and just grab inspiration as it strikes. But this will probably have a little bit more structure where there'll be 3 to 4 weeks that are planned so we can do series and things that are connected to one another and not just everything be one-off.
So perfect advice for students, the difference between blogging for yourself and blogging for a business right there.
Yeah.
All right. So how do you officially manage your time? You say once a week. Do you set aside, every Wednesday morning, or how do you make sure that happens?
I have been much more fluid about that. That may change as the volume of writing increases. It may necessitate more dedicated time. But for the most part, I write up until the last minute. Generally speaking, there are some weeks that I have 95% of it done well in advance, and I'm just fine-tuning at the last second, making sure that everything's right. It's amazing how many typos you can miss when you read it 100 times, and then there's some little thing. But there are also times when I'm writing it 5 minutes before it goes out because the thing showed up, and I'm gonna push it out right now. The nice thing about now incorporating it with Dateline's website is that frees me up a little more to say, hey, I'm gonna go spend an hour in my office writing right now, and that be a distinctly work task and not have the ambiguity of, well, should I be doing this at work or not?
Excellent. All right, so now that you're turning it into the Powered by Humanity blog, that is for the business, Dateline Digital Printing, how do you see driving traffic to your blog?
Sure.
To the blog?
Yeah, so I'm an organic guy, so clearly all humans are organic, but I'm not particularly interested in going out and finding how do we game the system in order to get 10,000 views tomorrow. We're initially, at least, we're trying to reach our customers and people in Fairbanks. We're trying to reach people that we believe will have an interest in that. So a lot of that is going to start with promoting it in the store, talking to our customers about it, telling them what we're doing, and then promoting that within my own network. And I feel like what This Tiny Empire has allowed me to do over the past handful of years is build a personal brand of sorts. People know at least a little bit in my circles what I stand for, what I'm all about. And so then being able to engage the people that I know and say, hey, I think this is something that's of value to you. and offering that as a genuine offer, not as a spam tactic. I'm not gonna, if there's somebody that I don't believe is going to find value in it, I'm not going to approach them and say, hey, I think you're going to enjoy this. And so I like to look at it from the, if it's good enough for the kind of initial pool of people that I know and that I'm connected to, they'll share it beyond that, and it will grow naturally, as opposed to looking for really getting down in the weeds with SEO and different sponsored kind of things to try to reach out to people who we don't know and we're not connected to.
So it sounds like this really isn't to get people into the store to buy product.
Not specifically,
more powerful than that.
Yeah, so the idea is we want to be able to share something. I think that we're 10 years into running the business. There's definitely a sense that there's been a lot of help along the way, a lot of people who have helped me to get to this point where I'm established as an owner. Dateline's been established for a long time, but where I'm established as an owner and the choices that I'm making in the business are affecting it in a positive way. We're not just riding on the coattails of the previous success. And I really recognize that a lot of people have been instrumental in that, and that I now have a responsibility to extend that to the next person. And so we feel like we have some kind of unusual ideas about how business works, and that has value in the community. We want to talk about that and to share that. And our hope is that other people will find value in it, and that as an extension down the road, we have an opportunity to be memorable. That when people need our services, which we're not that important until you need us. We're not selling iPhones where everybody wants one just because they're cool. We're selling something that's very specific. And so part of what we're building is a reputation and a sort of top-of-mind awareness. We want to be the people that our customers will be thinking about when they become customers. But we're not trying to sell somebody anything today or tomorrow or next week.
Okay. All right. So you must have stumbled along the way. Blogging isn't you're going to be successful right away. So share with us and the students the biggest failure you've had so far.
Oh, goody. Goody. So I think the small ones, to start there, to sort of ease my way into it, the small ones are those initial mistakes you make when you are learning how to put it all together. So you spend a lot of time building your WordPress site one way, and then you realize you could have saved a lot of time by doing it another way. Those trial and error things, I think, are fairly natural, and I would just say don't be afraid of those kind of things. Don't be afraid of the fact that you're going to learn things along the way, and 5 years down the road, you're going to know how to do it a lot smoother than you do from day one. But I think my biggest personal failure was that when I started, it was far too much about me. So I kind of said a few minutes ago that we really want to give something back. And initially, I wanted to get something. And I would write something and people would like it, and that was very much about me, and it made me feel good. And there's nothing wrong with feeling good when people like the stuff that you're putting out, but it was much less about what am I contributing, what am I giving, how am I adding value to these people that are reading this, and much more about, oh, good, they liked it, now I feel good. And it took me a little while to really get beyond that. And the reason that was such a stumbling block was that if you don't get the right response, then you want to quit. Oh, well, not enough people like this one. I must be doing it wrong. Woe is me. I'm going to give up. Whereas when you have a mindset of generosity and you're saying, I want to produce something that people will value, when you swing and you miss, it's okay. Well, I've got to be better next time in this way because I really want to be able to connect with people and make a difference for them. And so that has been an evolution. That's something that I had to learn, kind of a personal thing. I had to learn about me, and I would say that's my biggest mistake, is making it too much about me.
Well, now I want to talk about you and
right.
your personal brand. Let's flip it around and talk about success. You have led the Thanks Fairbanks project. You've been selected to lead the Chamber of Commerce Leadership Academy. You're successful as a father, as a husband. So tell us, so far at 39 years old, your greatest success.
Now, that's almost harder. I thought the failures were difficult, but that's almost harder. I think that my biggest success, as I look back on 10 years in business, is that I've built a business that I feel like I can be proud of and that the community is proud of. Hopefully that's not too much of a leap to say that. But I feel like what we're doing at Dateline is we need to be good at printing. We need to be good at the technical stuff. And I believe we are. But even more than that, I think that when you talk about a business that a community can be proud of, it's beyond just that technical competence, and it goes to what are they contributing, how are they making Fairbanks better. And I got a thank you card from somebody yesterday that sort of spoke to that idea, and those are the things that really are meaningful to me. When you get that feedback from somebody that says, we believe in what you're doing as an organization, that matters a lot to me. And so I think that is my proudest achievement to date, aside from being a good husband and father. I hope that those things are true. I work to make those things true, but that what we're building is more significant than just making copies. That we're building something that matters to people, and that is something that Fairbanks can be proud of.
Well, thank you for the time that you give to the community to make it a better place.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd like you to ask for your advice for the students. So you have a personal brand, you're a business owner,
Sure.
and the students are working with clients and assessing social media marketing plans.
Yeah.
And there is no cookie cutter answer here, but what 3 platforms would you suggest that a small business consider?
Sure. So we use Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Those are kind of the 3 that we've leaned into. And I think, depending on the kind of business that you operate, the kind of organization you're working for, that answer is going to be somewhat different. I think those are very popular ones, but things like Tumblr or Pinterest, depending on what your organization does, some of those may or may not be more advantageous. But we have effectively found that most of the people that we're trying to reach are on these platforms. That's where our customers, our audience really exists, and so that's where we're going to spend most of our time and energy. I think that a critical part of any, not just social media or blogging or any kind of communication you're trying to do as a business, it's critical you understand who you're trying to reach. Who is your market? Who are your customers? Who is the audience that, or not even customers, but the people you want to be your customers, your prospects. Who are you trying to reach? Without a clear understanding of that, it's really hard to make any decision about where you should be, because you've got to know who you're trying to reach and where they're at. So it really boils down to figuring that thing out and then doing the research, asking the questions, and that's the beauty of social. In fact, yesterday we had a question about the timing of. We're trying to figure out when we should be sending out notifications to customers about holiday cards, to business customers. And that's a different bit of math than for an individual, because I don't want to know about the Christmas promotion in August or September. But business customers need to be aware of those things ahead of time because they're making those decisions far before November or December. And so we posed the question on Facebook, and we got feedback from people who have a broad range of perspectives, but being able to do that kind of research on social platforms like Facebook and Twitter is really remarkable. You can find your customers very easily because they're happy to talk to you about the things they care about.
And it sounds like you're doing it right because they're interacting with you.
Yeah, we got a lot of interaction on that. It was very, very exciting because we just got a bunch of really interesting perspectives and ideas. So. Yeah.
All right, last question of the day. Is there anything else that you want to share?
I think the only parting thing that I have is that blogging can seem like a hobby. You can set it up for free and you can do it at your convenience. But if you want to be serious about it, I think you really have to think about it as a job. Think about it as a responsibility to execute at the times that you've agreed to do it. I currently have an email that goes out every Sunday, and come hell or high water, I get that thing out every Sunday because I have an agreement with the people who've chosen to give me their attention. And I have a responsibility to meet that. There's a great book by a guy named Stephen Pressfield called The War of Art, and it is all about taking something that can seem like a hobby, that can seem like art or creativity, and recognizing that you have a responsibility to be a professional at it if you're going to try to be a professional at it. And we're talking about doing it for work, so I think that makes a lot of sense. And to really take seriously the work side of it, and to be a professional and sit down in the chair every day and do your work. I think that that's something that took me a little while to really grasp. And the sooner you get that, the sooner you recognize that as a content creator, you have a responsibility to the people that are paying attention. The sooner you're gonna get some traction in terms of doing it the right way.
Great advice. Thank you for your time today.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Tammy. Thank you so much.
All right.